What does Biafra mean?
It means freedom, liberty, fairness, equity, and justice.
In practical terms, these are very good sounding words, but in practical terms, what does Biafra mean?
Confederation.
My people suffer, them they pray for blessing.
Hello viewers, welcome once again to the LOL show, that's Lens of Leadership show. So on this platform that African scholars in Germany bear their mind free on burning issues affecting the African community in Germany and on the world as a whole. I remain your host, my name is Dayo Sadiku, and joining me of course today again is Uche, Ewa, Edward and Ali. Today we'll be talking on a very interesting topic, a topic burning the country called Nigeria so seriously, and this topic is also affecting we living here in Germany. And what's the topic? The topic is Biafra. Biafra, okay? For the viewers who don't know what Biafra means or what it stands for, it's a secessionist movement that is going on in Nigeria right now. So a certain group of people in Nigeria feel that they are not quite represented enough, and they want to carve out their own nation, so to say, their own country. And this movement is led by somebody called Nnamdi Kanu in Nigeria right now, who is the leader of the IPOB movement. Okay, so I would like to listen to the views of my fellow guests here. So we start with Uche for today. So Uche, tell us, what do you think about this Biafra movement? Are you in support of it? Should it go on or should it stop?
Yeah, thank you very much. Concerning Biafra, what I would say is, for me, if you ask me if I want Biafra, I would say yes. But is the time right? I would say no. There are some things that we need to put into consideration before we even talk about fighting for Biafra. Such things include, there is no international airport in the eastern part of Nigeria. And these are one of the things that, these are like one of the core things that we do really need if Biafra must happen today. Talking about the seaports, we don't have anything. And then the most important part of it all is the leadership. Nnamdi Kanu, yeah, we know that he's the one agitating for the whole thing, he's the one in the forefront. But if Biafra should happen today, we Igbos, I know how we behave. You'll find out that a lot of people will spring out to want to lead Biafra. And in so doing, we'll probably have another civil war. And I'm not sure Nigeria is ready to take that. So I'll pass the mic on.
That was quick. But then, first things first, I do not want to Biafra. And then, of course, I mean, I'm not originally Igbo, but my grandmom is Igbo, so I would say I can claim I'm as much Igbo as any other person walking the streets. But then, so why don't I want Biafra? Yes, I think there are secessionist movements all over the world. There have been movements such as this, and there will continue to be movements such as this. Maybe some people, especially in countries where we're heterogeneous, even in some countries where they speak the same language, you still find some people who think, I think we want to be on our own. Human beings are that way. We can be divided at times. But then, looking at it from one perspective, unity is always better than division. If we are arguing this way, I can bet you, okay, Biafra, the first civil war, it was all about the whole eastern region, and then you had other ethnic groups who were not Igbos, who were unfortunately dragged into that mix, like the Calabars, the Delta Igbos, and then you have the other ethnic groups, and then they didn't want it. They never wanted it, and now it's even worse that they have come out and said they are not interested, so it's just the Igbos. So it's even worse, it's just one ethnic group that is insisting they want to be on their own. And I think no matter what, it's a quick fix, like someone used the analogy of a divorce. It's a quick fix, but it's always better when we can sit together and then improve on what is already existing. And then if like the Scots or the Irish or whatever, then they have achieved a more mature standing and they're looking at it from a more mature perspective. And then that way, then they can say, okay, yes, we still want to leave, and then they can leave, and then you would still have an existing partnership. But now it's based on hate. There's a lot of the approaches are so, if you permit me to use the word, so illiterate that even if they leave, the same problems would still be existent in the small unit. And then you would still have a problem. As it stands now, most people, I'm sorry to use, I love Igbos, I'm still very Igbo, but then most of them are reliant on the Yoruba part of the family, and then they're always saying some things. I can just imagine what will happen if there is any issue. It would be a double problem, because in that instance, we would still be obliged to help our brothers, because that is what it will boil down to. And then I would also say we should learn from history. When some things are being repeated over and over again, look at Eritrea, look at Somaliland, look at South Sudan. It's the same problem. They did not take care of these issues before they left. Even like the Scottish referendum, they were able to sit down. After the recent Brexit talks, they were talking about another Scottish referendum. But they sat down, I think it's the leader of the Scottish party. They sat down and they said, it's not in our people's best interest. It's not in the interest of the whole unit as a whole, so we'll keep it on hold for now. But that is not what is happening, and that's simply my point of view. I mean, even if I don't like it, if some people say we want this, you can do it. But then you look at the bigger picture. Does this pay us eventually? Does this pay us in the long run? And then we work with what is better or what is best for the whole unit. And then, I think it was Albert Einstein who said it's foolishness to keep doing the same things and then you expect a different result. And then a lot of these problems, I think that is even what this whole Biafra thing is steeped in. We have lots of issues, and yes, we have a leadership problem. I used to say it's not only the leadership, the people as well, and that's why I'm a strong advocate for ordinary people like us standing up and then, doing things. Start from whatever you can do. I keep tasking young people, you must have your own project, you must have your own vision, you must have that particular thing you want to do. And then I think most people are looking out for that hero figure. We can see it in the way people troop to churches. We can see it in the way people troop to maybe their mosques or their mullahs or their leaders and all of that. And it's the same thing with this Nnamdi Kanu business. Some people they're just looking out for someone, and then and this person has presented himself, and then they are tying themselves to him, even though what the ideology he's telling them is just nonsense. I would say. I'll pass it on to the next person now.
I wouldn't say that's nonsense. I wouldn't say it is nonsense.
The methodology.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe.
It's nonsense.
Yeah, maybe.
Really, thank you very much. I'll go back to Ewa and Uche shortly on the topics you mentioned. I agree with Uche that you want on Biafra, which if I was an Igbo, I would also want the same thing. But you mentioned something very important, that the time is not right. I agree with you on that. Secondly, on Ewa, you mentioned that the ideology is being foiled with hate. And I think with hate, you can't achieve anything. Nigeria as a whole is not like a married couple. It's like an extended family. So if you're talking of breaking away, then you must be ready to follow, you must be ready for the consequences that will come with the extended family, the brothers, the sisters, the mothers, the uncles, that are interwoven for more than 50, 60, 100 years that our country has been involved in. But I'm against the use of hate to achieve that aim, because this is what is going on right now, and has been going on even before Nnamdi Kanu became popular. This has been going on for the past 4 years. He's been preaching hate, and hate won't bring anything. And I'm sorry if the Igbos or those that are inclined with Nnamdi Kanu should follow him in this direction. They will not achieve what they want, and they will never get that referendum if they continue on this approach on the hate. That is my point. If they continue on this approach on the hate, but any other democratic step toward achieving their own country is welcomed. And I believe if they should tender it democratically on the table with the Nigerian government or in the World Court, they could achieve it if the referendum should pass. So to me, what I will always say is that they should not follow Nnamdi Kanu spreading hate to achieve Biafra. Because if you start a country with hate, I guess you know what will come out. Okay, so that's my point. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to start from where you start. That the current movement is driven by hate, but I can't imagine everyone living in a union that you love. So the idea of separation as an element of hate, it's because you don't love this current situation. So an element of hate has to be present for divorce to really happen. So that is driven by hate doesn't mean it shouldn't happen at all, because I think that's why it's necessary. And you make mention, I like to use the same codes that you use, that doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's exactly what it will be if Biafra is not let to be alone. Doing the same thing will be keeping Nigeria and expecting in Nigeria a very prosperous Nigeria. It hasn't worked. So far, we haven't really had anything. I mean, if I ask you, what makes you a Nigerian? What are you able to tell me? What makes you a Nigerian? I identify myself more as a Yoruba man. I can tell you about my culture, about the way of life as a Yoruba man. But I can't tell you a way of life as a Nigerian, because there is none. Nigeria is just, it's a legacy of colonialism. And that's all we have. We are just a stamp of a colonial master. We have traditional enemies living next to each other, and you expect them to fall in love. That's never going to happen. But like you said, maybe the timing is a bit wrong, because we have a very young democracy that is not strong enough to even organize a reliable referendum to ask. We're not even able to organize a free and fair election. So I can imagine having a referendum, asking people if they want to leave or not. That would be a very tough thing to do. But the idea of having a Biafra as a country, and probably not just Biafra, having different regions of the country standing independent of the whole country will be very welcome. I mean, it will be a shame, because currently Nigeria is the most populous black nation on earth. That's something beautiful. Nigeria is the most, we have the strongest economy in Africa. That's something fantastic. But then when we look back at the people who live in Nigeria, can you really see that they're living in a prosperous country? Can we boldly say that those people are living in a country that we will ourselves dream that our children or our children will live in? I'm pretty sure that, for me, the answer is no. I will not be happy to have a kid living in the current day Nigeria, because it's a country where you really don't have a say on anything going on, even though we have a democracy, but I think you will agree with me that our democracy is more or less a camouflage. It's not the real thing, and it's not working. Yeah. So, if you ask me point blank, should Biafra, people of Biafra to succeed from Nigeria, I will tell you yes. The next thing will be how. That is something that we have to sit down together as Nigeria to look into it and see how can we really help them to get out of this union, and other tribes that are willing to get out of this union. It will be something difficult. I mean, when my brothers are married to people from different tribes, that would be a very tough decision for these families. Yeah. But now it's already a tough position where you have people from different families, and you can't really go to visit your in-laws because they think you're from a side that is not welcome and things like that. So ask me point blank any day, I'll say let it be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We remain on the LOL show, Lens of Leadership. We've just had very, very interesting comments from our guest speakers. They've used some very brilliant, beautiful words, I would say, that I've never heard before. I've heard words like legacy of colonialism being responsible for the formation of Nigeria. I've heard words like it can't be a quick fix. I've heard you personify, I don't know if that word is correct, Nigeria as a form of marriage, a marriage that is not just between two couples, but amongst different families. Brilliant. Okay, so now I've heard all your views, and we've had mixed views, of course. Some of you have said, yeah, you support Biafra, you support the separation of Nigeria, but not now. You have said, no, you're not in support of the Biafra, you want Nigeria to remain the same. And we've also had that you say, yeah, come on, Nigeria doesn't work. We didn't create Nigeria. Then let's just have Biafra. And everybody should be happy, and perhaps Nigeria would work. So, brilliant comments. Before I take, of course, your final comments, I'd like to ask you just one quick question. Or you could give your final comments and just answer something very briefly. Would you support a referendum? Of course, referendum like this are to some extent supported by the United Nations, because each country has a right to people have rights to self-determination, okay? So give me your final comments on the issue we've discussed and also on referendum. I start with Uche.
Yeah, thank you. For me, I think I would support one. And then in terms of, they said something about hatred. I mean, that Nigeria wouldn't work, that Biafra wouldn't work if they're trying to secede from hating one another. I understand where they are coming from. And there was this video I watched recently. It's an old video though, from, I think it was Ojukwu that somebody was interviewing Ojukwu, and he said Biafra was a mistake. I mean, he said so because a lot of people were killed at that time.
Chief Emeka Ojukwu led the Biafrans against the government in the last war. He says it would be a mistake for anyone to provoke another.
So a lot of people will say, but you were leading the first one. Yes, I led the first one. And I will say to everyone, I led proudly the first one. I don't think a second one is necessary. We should have learned from that first one. Otherwise, the dead would have been to no avail. It would all have been in vain.
And then it's looking as if we are trying to make the same mistake he made back then. He said Biafra was a mistake because he knew that he didn't do the right thing. He didn't follow the right process. I mean, if we as Igbos want Biafra, then we have like the right, there are some things that we know that we should do, which we are not doing. We cannot do it and then achieve it from trying to forcefully do, we cannot achieve Biafra by force. So we have to like pull the right plugs and then watch things happen.
So yes, if there's a referendum, I would support it because, like I said, if you want to go, I don't want you to go, but you want to go, then that's fine. And then you said something about a divorce. Yes, if some people want to go, they can go, but I always say look at the bigger picture. This instant gratification needs to stop. This is something nobody chose, but for some reason, it is there. So we need to look at what works best for everyone in the long run. You don't just say, okay, because this is not working, I then go. You look for how to mitigate the problems around. There's what you call damage control. You don't just pack up, lock up shop and then you leave because something is not working. And then you said something, do you identify as a Nigerian? I know, yes, I identify as a Nigerian. I speak Hausa. My grandmother is Igbo. I am originally Yoruba. I grew up in the north central part of the country. And then I think it's not the way it was. And you said something, yes, it's a fledgling democracy. I agree with you. But I can tell you, if we would look at it critically, we must tell ourselves that we have come a long way. Yes, things are not going the way they should go. But I can assure you, my memory is still a bit sharp. It wasn't, looking at what it was when Abacha was in power, compared to what it is right now. Yes, the democracy, it's a young democracy. It started in 1999, crying out loud. There is a lot that needs to be done, and that's why things like this are being called for, where the young people need to become more active. But let's be honest with ourselves. Even the economy, we see the difference between it when Obasanjo came into power and what it was 2 years ago. So, and I think as an engineer, I would stop now. The things start from somewhere. I always have this, when you have a machine and you want to improve on that machine, you need to tell yourself what is actually wrong. You must tell yourself, how different is this prototype from what it's supposed to be? And how far have we come in our development? If you're not honest with yourself and maybe you are at 50%, meanwhile, you are telling yourself we are 10%, you would lose. You should be able to tell yourself, okay, in this phase of our development, we are at 50%. Then you can then adequately say, okay, this is what I can do to make it better. But if we're not honest in our appraisal or in our analysis, and we say, oh no, or we refuse to do our due diligence, and then look at what is wrong, how far have we come, then we would make certain mistakes. But if we're at 50%, then we know, okay, this is why we are only at 50%. This is what we can do to move it up to 70 or 80%. So it's still, I would still call for, finally, I would call for collective responses. It shouldn't just end here. Like, I want maybe by the next time we're meeting, everybody, you have an idea of what you think you can do, because that's what it boils down to eventually. What can you do? Even to change this Biafran narrative, what can you do as an Igbo person to tell your people in the village? Because I've also noticed it's more popular amongst the uneducated folks. You are educated and you're saying, okay, yes, even if it should happen, there should be, they should follow the due process. And so what can we do to make it better, to let these folks know that there is a way that, you know, there should be that collective response. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go quickly to like the question you mentioned. Right now, for a referendum, I would say no. If you ask me why, in Nigeria we've had just one free and fair election, which is similarly to, I would say, a referendum. That was in the 1993 election, and we all know the outcome of this election, that the winner of the election never came true. Why I'm making reference to this free and fair election that we had in Nigeria was that if a referendum should be held right now, that the Biafra should have a country of their own, it might go two ways, and I see it tending towards a violent struggle, which I think the Igbos would not want right now, and which I think maybe some people in Nigeria will be very, very happy to follow that path, which myself would. I didn't witness the civil war, but I wouldn't want that to happen. Why am I referring this is that because we don't have credible elections. If the referendum is right, that the Igbos want to go on their own, the government might say no, the process wasn't followed well, or there was like manipulations, which the Biafra people will say, we go against this, and this will cause a violent struggle. That is why I would say, right now, like you said, it is too early to call for an independent state of Biafra. There should be laid down procedures, and they should follow the right process till when we will have a good and reliable election or organization process for such issues. I'll quickly go to the last question, where you asked if I would identify myself as a Nigerian. Yes, I would. I have Igbo friends, and we've been doing things right from my childhood. I have Yoruba. I was born in Lagos. Although I'm not a Yoruba, I'm from Edo State, but I have I'm connected to the Yoruba people and also to the Edo people. Although I don't have people in the north, I still identify them as my brothers and sisters, because we all share different things with each other, and we are connected one way or the other. The reason why a lot of people feel we are not connected is because we are still together. And I bet you, if we should lose that union of being in Nigeria, that is when we will realize that we, as a Nigerian, is far better than we falling apart. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would say a referendum right now, I would say no. Nigeria is a very traditional setting. We have lots of traditional rulers, we have kings and so on in every part of Nigeria. I would imagine a situation whereby the federal government of Nigeria invites the traditional ruler in the east and have a dialogue with them, if that is what they really want. If they want to Biafra, and the federal government, they are obliged to listen to them, then they can sit down and draw out on how to go forward. Maybe in the nearest future, maybe a referendum can be organized when we can really say for sure that the referendum will be free and fair. Not that we have some group of people voting like 100 times over. And you said something to close, that Nigeria, we won't realize what we mean to each other until when we separate. I would like to make an example of Hamburg. In Hamburg, we have people of nationality, we have people from different nationality. The house where I live, we have just 9 flats, and we have people from 7 different nationalities. We have people from all the continents living in this house. It's not a big deal that they're from different countries. They have an idea, they have an identity that they identify with. They're happy. My American neighbor is happy to be an American, even though we both live in Hamburg. That's not a problem. And the fact that they belong to a different country doesn't mean my in-laws won't be my in-law anymore.
But they were never together. They were never together. It's a different setting.
It's a different setting. I mean, now they live together, and I mean, my brother is Yoruba, the wife is an Igbo. And if Igbo happens to go to have the Biafra, that means the wife of my brother would have come from a different country.
Yeah.
But of course they are married, and you wouldn't separate a wife from the husband.
Because they
exactly.
Together, yeah.
So it doesn't make much difference. And I don't think when the Biafra is declared, anyone will say, oh, the Igbo people has to go to Biafra.
That's what we're trying to avoid.
If you want to go to Biafra, go to Biafra. If you're not going to Biafra, then you have to register as a Nigerian. So I don't see any problem whatsoever with having a state of Biafra. For those who want to go to Biafra, please go ahead. I mean, the United Nations has provision for this, so it shouldn't be an argument at all. And I authority, when they came out point blank that the answer is no. That doesn't sound like a democracy. If so many millions of people are screaming the same thing, and the federal government came out and said no, it doesn't sound well to me.
Can I quickly add something before we close? I think, yes, I agree with you. Them saying no was probably not the right call, but I think they were saying no because of the process and what has been surrounding it. That was why Nnamdi Kanu was even arrested in the first instance, and he had been talking. But it's when he started calling out for arms that was when that is tantamount to high treason. And that is punishable any day, anytime. And the last time he said it's because of the headsmen and everything. They have not suffered as much as the people in the south, in the north central and all of that. So, but he's still talking about this collective response. Then first, when we have sorted out all these demons, then we can then look at
for the angels.
Yes, then we can then when we are discussing like civilized human beings, then we can say all of this without, and mitigate as much damage as possible. But then to finally add this, in response to this, like we're talking about implementing the results of different policies. From the confab, one of the major themes that came forth was restructuring. I don't know if you know what it is. That's what everybody's talking about now. They're saying, okay, and I think it's a welcome development because they're not exactly saying no. They're saying, okay, let us see how we can improve the current system. And then let's see what, so it's like, it's a form of negotiation, and Oshibanjo has started that. Let us restructure, because that's another point that I think, it's not just about the Igbo people. Sometimes it's this selfishness, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, we are much more than this. What about the Edo person, or the other ethnic group that is just that consists of just 5,000 people? So should those people be thrown into the ocean because they do not have the numbers? So restructuring is much more, it's like a blanket solution, not just for the Igbos, but for everyone in general. Thank you.
Good. And there we have it on Lens of Leadership, LOL. Restructuring, that's a solution to solve the Biafra crisis in Nigeria, of course supported by EWA. We've had more no's than yeses for a referendum in Nigeria. What does this mean? We'd like to hear your comments on what you think about the state of Biafra. Do you think Nigeria should separate, or the marriage as we have it, should the marriage be dissolved, or should we continue? This very interesting and burning topic will continue next week on LOL show, Lens of Leadership. We call it Lens of Leadership because we try to, of course, provide solutions to world or global issues using a different kind of lens, okay? That means a different way of looking at the issues. My name remains Dayo Sadiko, and I'm your host on this show. See you again next week. Bye.
Right. I can't explain. I can't explain.
When I was in school, being African was Because of this, sounds like you need help saying my surname, miss. Try to communicate, but every day is like another episode of Everybody Hates Chris. Ever since mum said, son, you are a king, I feel like Floyd when I'm stepping into the ring. Just spoke to the boy, said he's flying in with a ting. We're touching the road to celebrate another win. We're going in. Why am I repping these ends, man? I don't know. The government played roulette with my postcode. All I know is it's where my people, them are suffering. I've seen it before, narrate the story as it unfolds. Dad certified the settings and my mum knows. My mind full of more bullets than your gun holds. Now I got the paintings in the front row, saying Skeppy, come home, baby, come home. Yeah, I love the sun, but I respect the rain. Look forward to good times, can't forget the pain. I was the kid in school with the 10-pound shoes, white socks, jack ups, and the pepper grains. Said they're gonna respect me for my ambition. Rest in peace, my niggas that are missing. I had to tell my story cause they'd rather show you black kids with flies on their faces on the television.